Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm John Mann, Director of Education for Lakeside, and I would like to welcome to the first session of the Lakeside Education Birding Lecture Series. Maybe a couple little snafus. But for this afternoon, we are fortunate to have Richard Vale with us, and he'll be with us again next Friday for a talk on owls. Richard has spent most of his adult career creating and giving presentations on multiple topics to diverse audiences in a number of places around the world. In retirement, he became interested in birding and combined his classroom instruction with his newfound hobby and provides presentations to groups to encourage awareness of our natural world. And the session for today is beautiful birds from around the world. There's an opportunity to see birds from around the world that you might not otherwise see. Birds included are exceptionally beautiful, but a few are included because of their unusual or eccentric behaviors. And the goal of the presentation is to encourage an understanding and interest in the incredible variety and beauty of the avian world. Next week, Monday through Thursday, our speaker will be Reverend Courtney Ellis, and she'll be giving a number of talks on birds and lead 2 on-site bird walks. I would ask you please mute your cell phone ringers and help me in welcoming Richard Vale.
Oh, thank you, John. It is indeed a treat to be here. I started out with this whole thing creating a program for senior citizens at the facility I live at. I know you're shocked, but I'm a senior citizen. We started out, and the first one I did, I just started saying, well, gee, what could I do? And they had this program or place where we could create a slideshow and that sort of thing, which I had done most of my life. So I said, gee, why don't I create a program called Amazing Birds, birds you might see just outside your window, because it was people that were pretty confined to the facility. That was Amazing Birds 1. This is Amazing Birds 8. It grew, and it grew. We've had the opportunity to make these presentations or presentations like this a lot of places. I want to mention John Mann, difficult, challenging individual. Oh, you know. Ladies and gentlemen, I've worked with a lot of coordinators, and I've never, ever worked with anybody as capable and as efficient as John Mann. John, thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Well, we got to get a few things out of the road here before we can continue too far. And I got to make sure everything's working. Oh, yeah, we're working. All right. So we want to go on here and talk about a few disclaimers. Number 1, after retirement from making training presentations as a career on a whole variety of topics, I'd be given a book, said, here, go make this presentation. I thought, well, okay. But that's what I did for a living, and when I retired, I no longer had that. It was something I just really enjoyed and loved doing, okay? So, but I want you to make sure you're understanding. I have no formal background in ornithology, just an interest. And it's a much more recent interest, probably in the last 5 to 6 years. So I'm not here trying to pretend I'm an expert. I'm not. I don't claim that, okay? Oops there, hang on. We really went fast here. What? I must have hit the wrong button here. Oh, for Pete's sake. We're making it, it's coming back. Although you're seeing pretty much the whole show here. Boy, that was a sensitive thing. I just touched that and it went out a whole bunch. That spoils the show. Yeah, you're getting the preview that you're not supposed to get. Okay, I can back up to here. Okay, now I'll try to be more careful here. Don't hold that down. I can only share information gathered from other resources. That's the big problem here. And frankly, ladies and gentlemen, some of those resources actually contradict each other. It's amazing the technology and how much things have evolved, say, in the last 20 years. I picked up a book from the library printed in 1971. Now, for me, that was yesterday, okay? And it is so out of date, it just, nothing was correct in it. And I took it to the library and I said, this really needs to be, recycled. All right, well, anyway, improving sets of DNA sequences, new technology, and other forms of modern research are frequently revising and refining our understanding and knowledge of birds. No question about it. We will have an opportunity for questions and hopefully some answers, but if there's anybody in this audience who is an expert on birds and can find something I'm wrong on or something they'd like to contribute, please don't hesitate. Hold up your hand. We'd be glad to have you do that. I'm not sensitive about being corrected when I've got something wrong. That's not an issue. So please keep it in mind. We will have a question period at the end if you wish. Okay, I wanted you to understand this. This is just the International Union for Conservation of Nature. It's the one we use in the United States. If you are into this sort of thing, you know already that there are several different organizations that use slightly different words to accomplish the same thing. And that is a minor problem. This is the one we're using, and you'll see that in the slides. Okay, this is good. If it has a green frame, it is an actual range map that I was able to acquire for a particular bird. Sometimes we don't get that, and they just describe this is a bird that's common in Australia. Now, if you look up here for just a moment, notice that there's spots here that are not included. They're that detailed with these range maps. Okay, now they go out of date pretty fast, okay? But frequently, if it's in red, it's just something they said it's a bird in Australia. And they didn't give me specific information. All right, overview of taxonomy. This is that stuffy science stuff. Well, you all know about kingdom, phylum, and class, all birds, so we won't be back to that. Birds are a group of warm-blooded vertebrates constituting the class Aves. They're characterized by feathers, toothless, beaked jaws, and that's big. The laying of hard-shelled eggs, a high metabolic rate. Birds' hearts and breathing are multiple times the speed of humans. And that's something a lot of people don't understand. When a bird flies through one of these big windmills, he doesn't have to hit the wing or the actual pane. What happens right behind that pane? It creates a slight vacuum. And if you're breathing at 200 breaths per minute, 2 to 5 seconds without breath, and you're done. And that drops a lot of birds, okay? At any rate, 4-chambered heart, just like you and me, and strong, light, yet lightweight skeleton. And here's my favorite. Birds are feathered theropod dinosaurs. There is no question about it. They are dinosaurs. That's been identified and confirmed many times now. It was very questionable for a long time, but that's confirmed. So, if you have kids, like we got 2 here, you're here today seeing dinosaurs. They are living dinosaurs. Is that cool or what? Yeah, I thought. You what? That's right. Chickens are related to T-Rex. That's true. Okay. Well, we're so glad you're here, and thank you. All right. Okay. As we look at this, well, kingdom, phylum, and class, we know we're all talking about birds, so we're not going to talk about this anymore, but we will talk about this. Order. There's 44 orders of birds, and you see that plus, slash, minus? That means that changes routinely. The book I picked up from 1971 said there were only 33 orders of birds. Now, that's how quickly some things change, okay? Families, A bird family is a taxonomic group of related genera that share common evolutionary ancestry, physical traits, and behaviors. Usually ends with IDAE. Each genus represents very closely related birds. And finally down here, ladies and gentlemen, last official count, there were over 11,400 different species of birds around the world. Now all of those figures change every year. They either go up or down a little bit, okay? So just be aware of that. And we're going to talk some more about that, and here's where the slide problem to start with kind of just ruin things for you. 7 different names for a single species of bird, okay? Well, it turns out that's just the size I could put on the screen. In fact, there are 80 different names for this bird. And some of you would be very much aware of what that bird is. Here he is. Now, you've already seen the slide come up, so it won't be a big surprise here. But who can tell me what kind of bird that? Oh, yes, ma'am. A who? Very good. Lots of people will just say, that's a starling. That's true, but there's like 8 different starlings in the world, 8 different species. And she was absolutely correct. It's a European starling. Did you know that before, or did you just read the sign?
I've known it before.
Wonderful, wonderful, good for you, okay? And yes, that's a European starling. And again, they go by 80 different names around the world. Some of them translate to what we would call starling, but very few of them translate directly, okay? You just have to know, but all right, well, what's important about that? Well, they're in the order Passeriformes. We'll talk about those in a little bit. In the family, I can't pronounce a lot of these. These are interesting type things. And the genus is Sturnus, and the species is S. vulgaris. Now the S up here comes from this. And as we express a species, we put the genus first letter in front of the actual final word, okay? So, what we know about this, no matter where you are in the world, if you typed in Sturnus vulgaris, you would get European starling. Doesn't matter. So it's important kind of to know that. Now, why is that useful to us? It's useful to us to have some understanding of the orders and families of birds. We don't have to memorize it, but for the ones that we access or talk about a lot, that's a very useful thing to have. All right, well, here's one of them, Egyptiformes. I'm sure all of you are familiar with that word. Okay. This order of birds is very limited in species with only 2 extant species. Extant meaning existing, okay? Cagoos and sunbitterns are alive today, but highly endangered. In the past, many species of these, because I can't pronounce it, existed that no longer exist. This was a big, big group of birds, and they no longer exist except for 2. The remaining 2 species are subject to lots of research. And let me back up. When I do the research on that term, I get very complex information. So I've tried to just simplify things for us because I'm not into the depth. Here's what a typical example of what would be there. These morphologically distinct birds are united in this forms based on robust molecular phylogenetic analysis of mitochondria and nuclear DNA. This demonstrates that they form a monophyletic clade that diverged from other non-avians approximately 40 to 60 billion years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, my 8th grade biology class did not prepare me to interpret that sentence. Okay? So I have tried in all the cases here to simplify things as best I can, But there's a new word, clade, and it's a group of organisms believed to be composed all the evolutionary descendants of a common ancestor. And there are hundreds of clades in the structure. All right, well, here is a kagu. And interestingly, here's a red one, so this is just, they said it was on these islands. And so I've circled those islands out there. They're northwest or northeast of Australia, and they represent where this bird lives. And he only lives there. He's never migrated anywhere else, okay? Very interesting bird. He's a beautiful bird, really, when he spreads his wings. I like that, okay? And endemic to the forests and shrublands of New Caledonia. That's where that bird lives. A ground-living bird, almost flightless, but exclusive to New Caledonia. Morning duets are called screaming matches or screaming challenges. Yes, people that live there do everything they can to shoo them out of town. Go out in the country, please. They are just enormously noisy, okay? They're monogamous and mate for life, but retreat to solitude when not in mating season. Now, they're not flightless, but they are they tend to exist on the ground and run around on the ground, sort of like chickens. Chickens can fly, just not far. And that's sort of like what this bird is, okay? Well, here's one of my favorites, a sun bittern. Central America and South America. Now, how in the world did two species of the same order wind up on two different continents? Who's got an idea? Yes, ma'am. Pardon me? Oh, yeah, okay. I didn't understand. I thought PNGN. Okay, absolutely. There was a time the continents were joined, and that's when these birds evolved, okay? Then they split apart, and some of them stayed there, and some of them went with the rest of it over to, if you will, this part of South America. Okay? Well, why would I be interested in that bird? I mean, he's kind of pretty. Well, let's take a look here. Male and female adult sun bitterns can be differentiated by small differences in the feather patterns of the throat and head. Now, folks, I've studied these slides. I couldn't get a better one. Okay, notice that this one has a white spot all under here, and this thread down through here, okay? This one, that white spot goes clear down. So I'm thinking one of those is the male, and one of them is the female. But I don't know which one is which, okay? That's a good guess. The more colorful one is probably the male. That's a very logical conclusion. Okay, insects form an important part of the diet with cockroaches, dragonflies, larvae, flies, katydids, water beetles, and moths being taken. Oh my. That dude can eat almost anything, right? Well, you're just started. Other invertebrate prey include crabs, spiders, shrimp, and earthworms. Well, if that's not enough, they also take vertebrate prey, including fish, tadpoles, toads, frogs, eels, and lizards. This bird is not likely to go extinct. He's got a range of food that he can eat and find it. So that's a kind of an interesting thing that happens with that. But why again? Okay, yeah, it's kind of a neat bird, but why? Here he is with his wings spread. Isn't that amazing? Now, you get confused, okay? The black part of what they're calling the eyes on the wings, the black part is behind him. The red part is the forward portion. So, in this slide, you're looking at the back of the bird. In this slide, you're looking at the front of the bird. There's his head. Okay? This one's walking away from you. This one's coming towards you. And this one's ambivalent about it, so he can't decide which way he wants to go. The sun bittern will open its wings to display 2 large eye spots when threatened. They don't understand why they'd have that ability, other than when they spread those wings, a predator thinks those are eyes and decides this is a much bigger animal than I care to deal with, and they back off. That's the only thing they can come up with. Okay, and there he is, full blown. Sun bittern. Okay, back to the best passeriforms, my favorite set of birds, and understandably so. These are mostly the birds you see out in the garden, on the bird feeders, that type of thing. This is a type of bird that is usually a very relatively small bird, and they sing and they do all kinds of stuff that we all like, and that's part of what makes them a passeriform. Okay? Passeriforms is Latin for passer, meaning sparrow, and Latin forms, meaning shaped, sparrow-shaped. And that pretty well describes most of the passeriforms. Now, there are some that are clearly bigger or smaller. Okay, the order comprises more than half of all bird species. Currently, there are more than 140 families and some 6,500 species of passeriforms. All passeriforms originated in the southern hemisphere around 60 million years ago. Now, they can prove that from the fossil record. They got better eyes than I got. They can do that, all right? Passeriforms are mostly insectivorous or omnivorous and eat insects, worms, fruit, and seeds. Okay? And here's one of my favorites, a golden-brown Chlorophonia. Now, the green box says that's an actual location that we found for that bird, a map that shows where that bird is. Clearly, the bird does not like being on the seashore. Notice that there's white on both sides of that green stripe, okay? But that's a golden-browed Chlorophonia. And again, they go by a variety of names, and if you were really looking for them, if you put in Chlorophonia califorus, you'd get that bird in Google. And here they are. The species thrives in cool, moist environments of cloud forests. Remember that strip in the middle of that? That's mainly mountains, and that's where they thrive. Often seen in the mid to upper canopy where it forages for fruits. And a very interesting, it didn't do that, okay. Well, then we get to one of my favorites, and look at the range map on this. That's green, so that is an actual range map showing the range. They can identify that this bird does not exist in a good portion of Australia. The bird exists in the blue area, you see. But this is a gorgeous little bird. This is really smaller than most sparrows. It's splendid fairy wren. Each partner will mate with other individuals and even assist in raising the young from such trysts. And they're very good at males and females, they think it's a family. Other birds are helping them, and they're helping them, those. Male fairy wrens pluck pink and purple petals and display them to females as part of the courtship display. And you guys all thought you were the first ones to buy flowers for somebody, right? They're amazing. They actually will do that. And they'll actually take those flower petals and they'll make a path right in front of their nest that they've created to encourage the female to go in and have the eggs. Oh, here's one of my favorites. And please note, I put in a red thing to show you Australia, and then I put in a green one to show you the actual range map. Look how specific this bird is. I don't know, some of these spots couldn't be more than 20 or 25 miles in diameter. But they're that specific with this range map and ability to say where that is. This is a Gouldian finch. There they are. Both sexes are brightly colored in black, green, yellow, and red markings. The females tend to be less brightly colored So my guess is, and it's just a guess because they don't identify it where you get the pictures, but my guess is this is a female and this is a male. She seems to be a little more subdued, okay? And also, I'm guessing this is a female because all these males are clearly paying attention, right? Okay. Gouldian finches were exported worldwide, which resulted in viable captive breeding populations being held in many countries. And that's something we need to share with you, as I should have earlier. We show you the range map of what is the natural range and the natural location for those birds, okay? As you get into it, you start realizing, no, those birds now have been transported all over the world. Just go to zoos and you're going to see this type of bird if they have an aviary type thing, okay? People got into a habit. There was a group of folks in the 1800s that thought every bird in Europe that wasn't in the United States should be brought over and tried to develop here. And people in the United States said, oh, every bird we've got that they don't have, we should transport over there and start populations over there. They did that with plants, animals, and birds. That's interesting because that's created a lot of invasive species that didn't work well. Starlings are one of them, or European starlings are one of them, okay? That's how it happens. So you can probably see this bird any number of places, okay? It's now illegal to export these birds from Australia. They like having them. Okay, here's an Andean cock of the rock. Their vibrant color stands out against the mossy green of their habitat, creating an eye-popping contrast. And there you can see, by the way, it's the national bird of Peru, and you can see where he is. Again, they're in the mountains. They're not on the seashore. Okay? And here's your Andean cock of the rock, and here's a female up here. Females in general just don't have to look really smart. Their job is to blend in and protect the nest and not allow predators to see them. And that's a concept that's almost with all birds. Not all, but most. Native to the Andean cloud forest, males gather in leks, forest arenas where they perform acrobatic displays and loud calls to impress females. Now, if you're not familiar with this, look up the word lek, and you'll find that is a bunch of males get together, and females, and the males perform trying to get selected by one of the females, okay? And what happens? Typically, the female chooses the most elaborate, prettiest male bird. Very interesting. Yeah, see? She's shaking her head, no. All right. Gatherings of males compete for breeding females, with each male displaying his colorful plumage, bobbing and hopping and making a variety of calls. After mating, the female makes a nest under a rocky overhang, incubates the eggs, and rears the young by herself. This dude is gone. The male is gone as soon as she's laid the eggs. I was really impressed with that bird until I read that. Okay, well, here we'll go out of the passer forms and go into pistachiforms. I have trouble with all that. An order of zygodactyl birds that includes parrots and related species such as Amazons, cockatoos, lorikeets, lories, and macaws. Okay? Wow, that's kind of interesting. Zygodactyl, of a bird's feet having 2 toes pointing forward and 2 toes pointing backward. Now, passeriforms, the ones we were just through, typically have 3 toes pointing forward and 1 backward. And that's part of what defines this group. The order comprises roughly 410 species found mostly in tropical and subtropical regions. Members of this group are known for their bright colors and noisy behavior. And here's one of the favorites. Okay, how many of you have seen one of these? Where did you see it? Oh, okay, in an aviary. Did anybody, go down to South America and see them? Okay, all right. Blue and yellow macaw. Blue and yellow macaws can live from 30 to 35 years in the wild. They are one of the longest lived birds on Earth. This is most commonly kept a macaw species in captivity worldwide. The United States has real strict controls. Lots of countries don't control things. And consequently, you find all kinds of birds everywhere. Even well-tended blue and yellow macaws are known to scream for attention. Now you want to think about that for a moment before you get one of these. Because they start screaming when? Yes, ma'am. Very good. That is correct. But it's also correct to say that's sometimes 4:30 and 5 o'clock in the morning as things are starting to come around. So you've got this bird in a cage out in your living room and your bedroom, and he's going to have you get up. He wants you to come over and pay attention. Okay? Blue and yellow macaw. Now, they come in different colors, and they're not blue and yellow. Here's a crimson macaw and a green macaw. Okay? Those were separate species, but these are hybrid macaws. We can't quite figure out who the parents were. Whoops, there. Oh, shoot, there you are, hybrid macaws. We can't quite figure out who the parents were. They kind of defy the ideas of species almost. All right, well, here's a sulfur-crested cockatoo. Interesting bird. Look at where he lives. He lives there in that red area and up here in New Guinea, okay? And very interesting, all the way to Tasmania. That's Tasmania down here, okay? He's a very interesting bird and one of them that's really cool. If you'll look up that bird on the internet and look at some of the videos of it, they dance to music. They bob and bum, 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 and they have different moves for different kinds of music. That's really strange, but they're very good at that. They do that, okay? All right. Well, species that feed on the ground are very vulnerable to predator attack. The cockatoo has evolved a behavior adaptation to protect against this. Whenever there's a flock on the ground, there's at least one high up in a tree, usually a dead tree, keeping guard. And they understand this. Could I only say that my 4 or 5 years of watching and learning about birds, I am just flabbergasted at some of the things they can do, think, and accomplish. They are amazing. They really, truly are. Well, this is so well known that it's even entered Australian slang. A person keeping guard for sudden police raids on illegal gambling gatherings is referred to as a cockatoo or a cocky for short. If you ever go to Australia, you'd hear that term. In captivity, some will spontaneously dance to music and a variety of unique moves. They really will. Oh, look at this one. This is one of my all-time favorites. Very specific range, green. And you can see it up here. They're out here on this very edge. They like being near water or having it within range of flying. And they're just an incredibly beautiful bird. Rainbow lorikeets feed mainly on fruit, pollen, and nectar. And here's one of my favorite things. The Currumbin Wildlife Sanctuary in Queensland, Australia is noted for its thousands of lorikeets. Around 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. each day, the birds gather in a huge, noisy flock in the park's main area. Visitors are encouraged to feed them a specially prepared nectar, and the birds will happily sit on people's arms and head to consume it. So, kids, if you ever go to Australia, make sure you go to that place, and you'll get these birds on top of your head, on your arms, all kinds of things. Now, there is a downside to that. I'll let her explain that. Okay? All right. males and females look pretty much identical. And that's unusual. That really is. This order is Caraciformes. This order is over 185 species that are usually very colorful birds. The different orders of birds give you a sense, and you don't have to memorize it, but they give you a sense of what kind of birds they are. And it kind of puts them in a category. These birds are largely Old World order with the representation in the New World limited to only a dozen or so species. The name Caraciformes means raven-like. These birds are generally have synactyl toe arrangement. Okay, what's synactyl? Some fused toes. Caraciformes toe 1 is pointing backward. Toes 2, 3, and 4 are pointing forward, with toes 3 and 4 partially fused. Just a very interesting thing. Now, I didn't mention it earlier, but most birds with four toes, they have 1 and 2 forward and 3 and 4 backward. Or they have 1, 2, 3 forward and the fourth one is backward. Okay? This one kind of somehow or another got that all turned around. Okay? And here's one of them. As the name suggests, bee eaters predominantly eat insects, especially bees, wasps, and hornets. And here there's a European bee eater. What a beautiful bird. A European bee eater. And that's the national stamp, one of the national stamps in Moldavia. Except for the resident southern African population, the species is strongly migratory, wintering in tropical Africa. Whew. And here's one of my favorites, a common kingfisher. Okay, you tell me where they live. That is the actual range map for them. It turns out that the different colors have to do with subspecies. We don't get into subspecies in this program. You don't have 4 hours. Okay, but the Eastern Hemisphere, they're all over the place there. I think you'd find that the yellow is maybe the dominant area, and the green areas are where they winter or something of that nature, because some of that yellow area gets up into pretty far north. Okay, here's the common kingfisher, and you can spot a kingfisher because one of the things to spot is that the head is extremely large for the rest of the body. And you'll find a lot of birds, the head is much smaller than the rest of the body. In this case, look at the size of the head and the beak relative to the size of the body of the bird. They are very interesting birds. Though their plumage is the same. Male common kingfishers have all black beaks, where a female's lower part of her beak is red-brown. Okay, I think here we have an all-black beak. That's probably a male. Here is a female with this little bit of red underneath. Look at this one. Okay, and this one looks like all black, so I think that's a male. But that's about the only difference that you can see in those two birds, or the two species, the two sexes. As well as the attraction for bird watchers, the common kingfisher is also an indicator species. Their presence is an indication of an ecosystem health. Kingfishers will have nothing to do with bad water. They want clear, clean water. And to see them there tells you that water is pretty purified. Kind of an interesting thing. Okay, fishing with a common kingfisher. Now this is how they fish. They sit on a branch and they watch below. The branch will hang out over like a river or whatever it might be. Then they make their move, and this is what it looks like. And when they dive down, they're going head first, big time. Then it's bring it home. Okay? But as all fishermen are, we got to debate the issue. My catch is bigger. Not as big as mine. Amateurs. Okay, but like all good fishermen, they'll agree to disagree. And that's I love that. Okay. I went all over to grocery stores all over Columbus and Delaware, Ohio, looking for the Kingfisher beer, but I couldn't get it, couldn't find it. So, all right. Okay, well, let's move on to another group here. Okay, only one family with 20 species of stork-like birds. Ooh, we're talking stork-like. These are chiefly tropical piscivores. Okay, what's a piscivore? Primary fish-eating birds. Pisces means fish, okay? Typically large birds with large, long legs, long necks, and substantial sharp beaks. Many have large, broad wings for efficient flight. Nests are usually very large and reused for many years. And there is a saddle-billed stork. And again, this one they just said sub-Saharan Africa, but they didn't say where it stopped, so I just put a red bone around it. Okay, but do you all see the saddle? That's right here, this yellow and this yellow. Okay. The genus name is derived from ancient Greek ehippus, which means something which is placed on a horse. And this word, I don't know, which means bill. That's a saddle-billed stork. Okay? And here he is in all his glory, about to take off or land, we don't know which. Columbiforms, a many-member of this group of birds that contains pigeons and doves. Now that's an important point. The name pigeon and dove are synonymous and imply no biological distinction. So pigeons and doves are all the same big family. There's a lot of them. About 353 species, in fact, of readily defined birds, unique in producing for feeding their young a nutritive secretion from the parent's crop called pigeon's milk. They're the only species of bird, or they're the only family of birds that does that. And they literally produce milk that is very similar. They say it's chemically obviously different, but it's not unlike mammal milk for the birds, for their young. Oh, hang on. These birds can also drink by sucking water instead of tipping their heads back. Now, this is a cool thing for you kids. Most birds have to bend down, gather some water, and then hold their head back. Doves and pigeons, they can just stick their head down and go just like we do with a straw. And they're the only group that do that. Okay, well, here is a Nicobar pigeon. Some of you might be aware there's a Nicobar Island out there somewhere, okay? The range map on that was just said Indonesia. Okay, that's what we got. Okay, but what a beautiful, beautiful bird. A pigeon. And there he is. These bright colors appear different at a distance than they do up close, which might suggest they're also used as a clever form of camouflage. Oh, couldn't figure out what the noise was. It's a large pigeon measuring 16 inches in length. Now, when we talk about length of a bird, we're talking about from the tip of the bill to the tip of the tail. That's the length of the bird. There's some exceptions where they had to do something different, which are not a part of this program. Unlike other pigeons, groups tend to fly in columns or single file, not in a loose flock. If you saw a flock of pigeons, they're not Nicobar pigeons. Nicobar pigeons will get up and fly in a row. It's just kind of amazing. We don't know why they developed that and none of the other pigeons did. All right, Chiretiforms. Order includes about 387 species and has members in all parts of the world. This order of birds is a diverse order of small to medium-large birds. Over 19 families are included in this order. Most Chiretiforms live near water and eat invertebrate or other small animals. However, some are pelagic. Okay, what's pelagic? Pelagic, in reference to birds, relating to the open sea. When we talk about a pelagic bird, a totally pelagic bird, they live out on the water. They only come on shore to nest and bring up the young ones. Other than that, they live out on the water. That's a pelagic bird, what we call that term. And these are found all over, by the way. Whoops, there. These birds are often referred to as shore birds and include seagulls and a collection of bird species known as waders. And here's my favorite. Okay? That is an Inca tern. He's got whiskers. A mustache is right. Okay? It's extreme western edge, and he is one that lives almost out of the water. Not quite, but that's where all he goes every day, out in the water to collect birds or collect stuff. He's an amazing bird, and he's a beautiful bird. Okay, Inca terns are best known by their dashing white mustaches, which are found on both male and female birds. Okay, well, here they are out there feeding. The Inca tern species is found only near the cold waters of the Humboldt Current, where the birds feed on anchovies and other small fish. Now, here's why it takes me so long to build these programs. Humboldt Current. Oh, what's that? Well, I had to look it up, and there it is. It's a portion of a big cycle. Why are we not coming on here? Oh, there it is. Okay. The Arctic Circumpolar Current, but this portion of it is called the Humboldt Current. And remember where he lived? Okay, well, that Humboldt Current comes right up in this area and brings fresh, cold water up that brings lots of these little tiny fish that multiply in that type of water. Scientists have learned that the length of the Inca tern's mustache indicates the health condition of the bird, meaning the longer, the healthier. And yes, when the female is choosing a male, she typically will choose the one with the biggest mustache. Why? Well, because it's a more healthy bird. Okay? Inca tern, there he is. This striking bird occupies part of the same habitat ruled by the ancient Inca Empire in South America. I like that. Oh, one of my favorites. Puffins are known for their striking appearance, large, colorful bills, wading gait, and water behavior, which have given rise to nicknames such as clown of the sea or sea parrot. A puffin's beak changes color during the year. In winter, the beak is a dull gray color, but in spring, it blooms with outrageous orange. It's thought that the bright color helps puffins assess potential mates. Here it is again. The brighter the beak, the more likely the female is to select that male to bring up the kids with. Using their webbed feet as a rudder, puffins can dive down to 60 meters underwater. Now, as kids, most of us went to the pool, and we had maybe a 10-foot deep area, and your goal was to dive in and swim down and touch the drain down there, which was very hard to do because it starts hurting your ears and all kinds of stuff. And then you had to come back up, obviously. Okay? Not many of us failed to do that. Okay? 60 meters. That's 3/4 of a football field down. How do they do that? What keeps them from being crushed by the pressure of the water? We don't know. I've never read anything that's an example or explanation for that. The Atlantic puffin, and some people call it Arctic puffin. In spring and summer, thousands of puffins gather in colonies and coasts and islands of the North Atlantic Ocean to breed. Usually a pair up with the same partner as the previous years. Some have been together for 20 years. Now, ask these kids back here, what would you call a baby puffin? Any ideas? What's that? Very close, very close. Oops, there. Both parents take turn to incubate eggs for the next 36 to 45 days before the baby puffling is born. You were very close. You've done wonderful. Okay. Anthroforms. Oh, one of my favorites here. Ducks and geese and swans. Typically we call them waterfowl. Most species in the order are highly adapted to an aquatic existence at the water's surface. Most of these birds are palmate. Okay. Palmate of a bird's feet, webbed feet. That's the technical term for webbed feet. And here's one of my favorites, the common shelduck. Most of Europe and Asia, and some clear over in the far eastern, okay? But a beautiful, beautiful bird. And in flight, they are just marvelous birds. Isn't that a pretty bird? I just really like that. Isn't that amazing? Again, the more I get into birds, the more I just get caught by stuff and start digging for it. Okay, here's your common shelduck. It resembles a small, short-necked goose in size and shape. It's a pretty good size for a duck, but a small goose. Sexes are similar, but the female is slightly smaller. Most populations migrate to the subtropical areas in the winter. And here's a harlequin duck. What a cool duck, okay? They live up here in the far north, near the water they breed on the orange area and they live in that blue area. Okay, they like to get inland there, and trust me, there's lots of water inland from there. If you've ever been up there, there are just lakes everywhere. Harlequin ducks are small, compact waterfowl with large, rounded heads, small bills, and a steep forehead. That's interesting. Here's that steep forehead. Most of them kind of come, slide down like this. This one goes really up straight, okay? A harlequin duck, they are usually found near pounding surf and white water. Really? Which just almost is a contradiction to me, okay? Harlequin ducks dive for aquatic invertebrates, often in turbulent rivers and coastal waters. And there's a bird, I should have mentioned this, there's the picture of a bird where he likes to be. Look at the water behind him. Pardon me? Okay, yeah, it looks like it. Okay. They are usually found near pounding surf and white water. And there's, I think, the female. Females are overall grayish-brown with a white around the bill and an eye and a neat white spot on the rear of their cheek. And that's common to both the male and the female. Oh, look at this one, a mandarin duck. Now, you can't go to a park or a place, here in the United States that doesn't have a mandarin duck, so they're all over the place. But their natural home is out here in the far eastern portion of Asia and what becomes Southeast Asia, all that area, okay? Closely related to the more common wood duck, which we've all seen. And they're just drop-dead beautiful birds. Just absolutely amazing. The name is Chinese, but they have a lot of cultural significance in Japan and Korea. Mandarin ducks. And they have different times of year, they look different. They mate for life. In times past, a man might buy or catch a pair of mandarin ducks to give his bride's family, because they are so devoted to their spouse. The mandarin ducks are so devoted to their spouses, symbolically giving the man or giving the family a pair of mandarin ducks is saying, I will take care of your daughter. Okay? The males molt to a simple gray or brown in appearance in the non-breeding portions of the year. This is called eclipse plumage. There's a big term for you, really show off. They're in eclipse plumage. Okay? And is that ever a beautiful picture? Just amazing. Oh, sulliforms. Well, what's a sulliform? Gannets, boobies, frigate birds, and cormorants are all in the order Scythiformes. Okay, whatever. Most of these birds are adapted for life in the water and are generally large in size with long wings and webbed feet. They're carnivorous and feed on a variety of prey, including fish, squid, and crustaceans. Some Scythiformes are found in a variety of habitats all around the world. These are very social birds. They live in groups and are found in large groups. And here's my favorite in the group, blue-footed booby. And that's exactly what they're called, okay? And when they dive, they really do. Now, I enlarged that so that we could see, look at this bird, how streamlined he is in that dive. They're good at doing this. And here's one right here who's already in the water, and apparently the pressure on his wings has caused the tops to cross. Because look how smooth this guy is over here. But boy, when they go down, they're going down for a bunch. Blue-footed boobies catch fish in spectacular dives from high in the air. Watching large flocks pursue fish can be breathtaking, with hundreds plunging into the ocean at any moment. They work in flocks, and when they see the school of fish, they all go at once. Just absolutely amazing. Yes, ma'am. I don't know that they can do that, but they might. I think the dolphins would probably eat pretty much the same thing they do, so the dolphin would be... Okay, yeah. I can't answer that for you. I'm not an expert in that area, but I appreciate your question. Thank you. All righty. And here's a little enlargement of that just to show you what that looks like big. They are really good at this. One study looked at foot color in relation to health of young chicks and found that the healthiest chicks tend to have fathers with intensely blue feet. Possibly an indication of the father's ability to keep himself well fed. Isn't that amazing? And again, who's making the selection? Okay, now I was never asked what color my feet were, but it's just... Each bird has these special characteristics. It's absolutely amazing. Okay, boobies with bluer feet appear to have more success in finding a mate than birds with the duller blue feet. And I can't help it. This is something. If you go looking for blue-footed booby pictures on the internet, you'll get, there are other pictures of them, but you'll get a whole range of these, and they literally flop from side to side, and that's just the way they walk, okay? And if that doesn't look like somebody coming home at 2 o'clock in the morning, I don't know, okay? Pairs of blue-footed boobies show their blue feet, blue-footed booby, there he is. And I can't help but associate human behavior with these. And this strikes me as two old guys standing outside the coffee shop, looking down and saying, my feet just aren't what they used to be. Okay. Oh, and here you can get a poster. Okay. But make sure you Google blue-footed boobies. And yes, folks, for just $29.95 and 2 Rice Krispies Box Tops, you too can have your very own blue-footed booby. It turns out there's stuffed birds or stuffed animals like this for almost every really beautiful bird you can think of. All right, well, let's move on to pterygoforms. An order of birds that include trogons and quetzals. There are 39 to 49 species, depending on the classification source. There's different sources for these things. They are compact birds with short, rounded wings, broad, squared tails. Can't believe I misspelled that. And small legs and feet. Their birds often have serrated edges to help grasp insects and fruit. Their flight is fast but limited in distance, reflecting in their forest-dwelling habits. And there is a resplendent quetzal. Look at the range. Good news and bad news. Absolutely beautiful bird. Absolute drop-dead gorgeous. Unfortunately, many normal tribes of the earlier days of families that lived out in this area treasured those tail feathers to the point where they became an exchange of monetary exchange. And the tail feathers carried a big bill with them, amount of money, okay? But a resplendent quetzal, one of the most beautiful birds in the world. And there's just pictures of them. They have this extraordinarily long tail. It's the national animal of Guatemala. Now, I don't understand this. They didn't call it the national bird. They called it the national animal. Okay. In ancient Mayan culture, quetzal's feathers were considered so precious they were used as a medium of exchange. Well, let's move on to pelicaforms. There are 5 families in this order. And as currently defined, pelicaforms comprise ibises, spoonbills, herons, egrets, shoebills, and pelicans. Well, we can't do all those. Most have nostrils that have evolved into dysfunctional slits, forcing them to breathe through their mouths. Very interesting. They also have pectinate nail on their largest toe, which is used to brush out and separate their feathers. Okay, what's pectinate? Having narrow projections or divisions set closely in a row. Now, look at the past sentence there. They have a nail that's out there, and it has these fringes on it, like a comb. And they can use that to prune their feathers. Just fascinating, okay? At least for me. Pelicaforms, here's one of my favorites, a scarlet ibis. Okay, and you can see where he lives. In form, it resembles most of the other 27 species of these birds, species of ibis. The scarlet ibis is the only wading bird with red coloration in the world. If you ever see a bird, scarlet red, wading in water, it's a scarlet ibis. It's that simple. Okay? Their distinctive long bills are used to probe for food in soft mud or under plants. After successful courtship, pairs remain faithful and cohabitat, sharing parental responsibilities for the young. And there's the poor lamb. If you came into the world and had a beak that size, what would you do? It just strikes me as crazy. Okay? Look at this poor bird, this poor baby bird trying to get along here. All right. Beautiful scarlet ibis, has a black tip on the wing. Only the tips of their wings deviate from their namesake color. The medium-sized wader is hardy, numerous, and a prolific bird, and it has protected status around the world. Galliforms. Galliforms is an order of heavy-bodied terrestrial birds that contain about 290 species. The species in this order include jungle fowls, which are the source of chickens. We can trace all chickens back to jungle fowls, and they still exist. The jungle fowls still exist. Pheasants, turkeys, grouse, partridges, chickens, and guinea fowl. Galliforms and the semi-aquatic order Anseriforms are collectively called fowl. Many are skilled ground dwellers that escape predators by running rather than flying. Generally, they're not good flyers. They've adapted to most environments except innermost deserts and perpetually icy regions. Now, you're all familiar with this one. Yeah. He is not a native to the United States or North America. They were brought in and released up in Oregon, and they have flourished all through North America. Okay? But that's not what we're after. Lots of people think that's the only kind of pheasant. No, that's a ring-necked pheasant. He has relatives. And I didn't feel I could put all of them on the slide. There's more. Okay? Well, we can't talk about all of them, so I chose to talk to you a little bit about Elliott's pheasant. Native to China, and again, they just said China. They didn't tell me where in China or what specific areas. Okay? Oops, there. Elliott's pheasants are shy and elusive and make spotting one in the wild a very special experience. If you're a bird lister and you're looking for this bird, you're going to spend a lot of money, time, and effort trying to get to see this bird. Elliott's pheasants help spread seeds throughout the forest, playing an important part in maintaining the health of their habitat. Their diet is diverse and includes seeds, fruits, and small insects. These pheasants live on hilly regions with thick vegetation, and they're very hard to find, despite how bright they are. Okay, bucetiforms, previously part of the order Caraciforms. These brightly colored birds are now in an order all their own. The order, which includes hornbills, hoopoes, and wood hoopoes. I thought that was crazy too. I had that very reaction, okay? And it's a group of birds exhibiting unique characteristics and behaviors. These birds are typically found in Africa, Asia, Malaysia, inhabiting forests and savannas. There he is, a Eurasian hoopoe. And you tell me where he lives. All over, okay? And here's some pictures of them. Most European and Northern Asian birds migrate to the tropics in winter. Their strengthened musculature of their head allows the bill to be opened when probing inside soil. Okay, they can stick that bill down and then open it up, and it just spreads the soil out. They're considered sacred in ancient Egypt and were depicted on the walls and tombs of temples. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what your favorite bird was. I guess we could take a toll in here and see. But you've seen a lot of birds. We've been a lot of places around the world. What's your favorite bird? Is that an amazing collection of birds or what? It's just absolutely mind-boggling to me that they do that. Okay, well, questions and answers, hopefully. Who's got a question that we can address? I especially appreciate these young people here today. Thank you for coming. That was very kind of you. You seem to be really into it. I hope you become avid birders, if not already. They are already. Wonderful. Okay, that works. Anybody with a question? Okay, little advertisement here. I'll be back next week with a program on Ohio owls. Now that's owls that make their home in Ohio. I will have a display. I assume we'll have that like right down here. Please come early. The display is interactive and you can work with it and that sort of thing. But we have to start the program at 3:30. So please come a little early if you're planning to do that. I would enjoy having you here. And with that, 2 slides to conclude this. Every bird, every tree, every flower reminds me what a blessing and privilege it is just to be alive. I get choked up quoting that because it is so real for me. Thank you all for being here. Thank you. Thank you. I'll be around a while if anybody wants to talk.